Hello, and welcome to another segment of Smoke Signals. I'm your host for today's show, Lieutenant Chris Taylor from the LaGrange Fire Department. Our topic for today's show concerns emergency preparedness. So stay tuned because you're about to watch Smoke Signals. Welcome back. Today we have with us Ms. Connie Hensler of the Three Rivers chapter of American Red Cross.
Good morning.
Hello, Connie. Good to have you here today.
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure to have you on the show. I know you've been on the show with us a number of years now since we've been airing Smoke Signals. Today we have some great information that we're going to be discussing concerning emergency preparedness. But before we do that, if you would tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've been involved with the American Red Cross.
Okay, sure, and thank you again for having us. I've been with the Red Cross for about 8 years now, and as you mentioned, it's the Georgia Three Rivers chapter. We serve 10 counties, and we are very active in disaster response and relief, along with our other services. Okay, great. And I'm quite sure that during this time of the year, you all are pretty active, especially during the weather season and fires and things of that nature, and we're going to kind of touch on that here shortly. But since we're talking about emergency preparedness, let's just get right into it, because today we want to make sure that our audience understands the importance of emergency preparedness, because you never can be prepared enough, because you never know what kind of disaster that you might be faced with. So let's just talk about why is emergency preparedness important? Well, as you mentioned, you never know when a disaster or an emergency is going to happen, so you can never be prepared enough. Right. So it's very important that we do take action now to be ready, and then when something happens, we're more prepared and able to handle it. And statistics do show that the better prepared you are before something happens, the better you're able to handle it when it does. Right,
and of course we can kind of piggyback on that with the weather season that we had this year, and the governor taking proactive measures and making sure that emergency preparedness was a #1 priority in our state. So even with that being said, emergency preparedness is something we need to think about every single day.
That's right, because you never know when something's going to happen.
All right. Now, what do I need to do in order to prepare or put a plan together as far as emergency preparedness?
Well, there are 3 easy things you can do. The first thing is to get a kit. Okay. And the kit means that you're putting your supplies together that you could either have easy access to in your home, or in a kit that that's portable that you could take with you should something happen. Right. So get a kit. Make a plan. Okay. So know what you're going to do if you have to evacuate or if you're told to shelter in place. Know your contacts, who you're going to call outside the home, maybe a family member who doesn't live in your neighborhood or in your community that everyone else can kind of call into and say, hey, we're okay, or this is what's going on. Right. So get a kit, make a plan, and stay informed. Listen to the weather reports, know what's coming your way. Right. Know your emergency communications in your area, know which TV stations to tune into, which radio stations to tune into, and just be aware of what disasters are most likely to happen in your community. Right, and you made a good point about having a plan and be prepared. And we say this a lot, but a lot of times people just really don't take the proactive measures to put that together. They hear it, but everybody have busy lives and things of that nature, and they just really kind of put emergency preparedness on the back burner until something happens. Right. And then it kind of sends up a red flag that, hey, I need to do a little bit better as far as planning, just in case something happens, especially for your family. Right. Now, what resources are available for the community members who want to learn more and
want to share information in their workplace?
There are lots of resources available. You can have the Red Cross come out to your workplace, to your church, to your community organization, and we can really get into a lot of details about how to be prepared and the things you need to do using the get a kit, have a plan, stay informed, and we can go into all the specifics and answer questions and help people really understand what they need to do. So that's available. We're always welcome to come out and do that. You can go to our website, redcross.org, and get lots of information as well. We have apps that are available free for iPhones and Android devices. Lots of wonderful information. There's a first aid app, so if you just have a quick question about, a small first aid situation, you can, go to your app and find out information. We have an app for tornado safety. You can find out, what should I do if there's a warning, if there's a watch. It gives an audible alarm, so you can have that set. And we have several other apps that are great information sources. Okay, good. And it's funny you mentioned about the apps. It seems like we're a downloading app world now, because there's just about there's
apps for everything. And but what's good to know is that as far as emergency preparedness or emergency services, there are apps out there that you can download to your phone that you can have with you anywhere that you go. And I think that's very important. And if I'm not mistaken, some of these apps, you don't even have to be in a serviceable area and still be able to access them. I think that's a good thing too. That's right.
And some of the ones that we have, like the hurricane app, if you have a home that's on the beach, or if you have family who lives in a hurricane prone area, you can actually put in their zip code, and so you'll get information when there are warnings and watches in their area as well.
Wow, okay. And some other resources to add to that, of course, we have state and federal resources that people can tap into to get information. One in particular is ready.georgia.gov. You can get all sorts of information on there about how to be prepared, and it talks about planning and preparation and putting kits together, just like the American Red Cross site. GEMA site, the Georgia Emergency Management Agency site, that's gema.gov, where you can also receive information about emergency preparedness, and not to mention FEMA.gov, where we got federal information about emergency preparedness. So there's all sorts of resources out there that the community can always take advantage of and have that resource right there readily available for them and be able to share it with others, because everybody needs to know about emergency preparedness and where the resources are for them, so that they can put a plan together at home, put a plan together at work, and have a plan together for travel. And let's kind of talk about that, because that's one of the things that probably most people don't think about. Their home has the planning and the supplies and things that it needs, but when you're out on the road and something happens, what do you do?
Right, and like the ice storm this year was a perfect example. If you get stuck in your car and you're stranded, you really do need that emergency kit or that disaster kit, so that you've got some water and you have maybe some snacks available, a blanket, especially in the cold months, and an ice storm, obviously, a blanket. Maybe just make sure you've got an extra jacket in your vehicle. First aid kit, things like that are just easy to put together in a backpack or a small travel bag, and just throw in the trunk or in the back of your car. So then, no matter what, you've just got something available, and you can pull it out, and you have those resources.
Right, exactly. And not to mention having a cell phone, and making sure that you have a way of keeping your battery charged, because a dead cell phone is an aggravating thing to have. So making sure you have some kind of way of being able to communicate, even if you can't do anything but text someone to let them know that you're in trouble and where you are and things of that nature. So
it's very important.
Very, very important. Let's talk about some statistics. What was the number of disasters this year that you all have recorded?
So far this year, and when I say year, for us, our fiscal year is July to June. So since July of last year, we've responded to 182 cases, disaster cases. So 182 families have been affected in our 10-county area. And it's been right at 600 people that we've been able to assist.
Wow.
And that number is up from last year. Of course, we're going to respond to everyone who needs us and everyone who has a disaster, but we are seeing an increase in the need for our services.
Okay, yeah, and we appreciate what you do, because the thing about it, when there is a disaster, someone wants to have someone that they can go to get some relief.
Right.
And you all do a great job in reaching out in the community and providing those services. What else is the Red Cross doing to help with emergency preparedness?
Well, we are trying to spread the word about the get a kit or build a kit, have a plan and stay informed, that preparedness message. But we're really excited about a new project that we're going to be involved in this year, and it's called the Pillowcase Project.
Okay.
And Red Cross received a grant from Disney to help make this possible.
Wow.
But it's targeted to youth ages or in grades 3 through 5, and so we go out and we talk about preparedness on a level that is understandable to them and that makes sense for them.
Right.
And we make it fun, and they'll actually get a pillowcase and they'll decorate that, and we'll talk about what supplies they can put in their pillowcase to build their own emergency kit, whether it's flashlight, maybe a toy or a game, something that would be helpful to them in a disaster situation,
Right.
and other things that they would need to include. And then so they can take that kit and have that if they have a disaster and need it, and they can share that with their family as well. So we're real excited about that.
And that is a great resource for children. And who would ever thought the pillowcase? I mean, pillowcase is, fairly easily accessible, and of course you can put as much in it as you want to, as long as you can carry it.
And it's a good size to be able to manage.
Yeah, and of course, not to mention book bags, but a pillowcase, it will be, an additional accessory.
Right.
You can have a book bag and a pillowcase full of stuff. So I think that's a great project, and I'm quite sure there, some of our viewing audiences out there might be interested in partnering with that program. I think it'll be a great program, and it'd be something that we can, do, throughout the community. So that's awesome. See, there was one other thing that I wanted to touch on real quick. What I do want to mention, in our next segment, we'll actually take one of the kits that you brought along with you, and we'll kind of give our viewing audience an opportunity to take a look at it, and just see, what the kit that the American Red Cross have to offer. But of course, you can always put together your own kit. But we want to just kind of give you some ideas of some things to look at and to put together for yourselves, because like we said earlier, preparedness is the key. Right. And we want to make sure that people have the resources that they need so that they can be prepared for whatever disaster that may come our way. Because we can't plan for everything, but it just seems like here as of late we've been having disasters that have happened, and they're happening a little longer. The remnants is staying around a little longer, and they're becoming more and more violent. Right. So we got to take those things in consideration. So when we come back, we'll have more here with you on Smoke Signals, so stay tuned. Welcome back. We've been here talking with Connie Hensler of the American Red Cross, and right now we have an emergency preparedness kit.
Yes.
And let's see what you got in your kit today.
Okay, this is just a sample that I put together, and it's not all inclusive, so go back and put yours together that has things in it that you need. But just a few things that you need to include. Okay. A blanket. This is a good one that folds up and will keep you warm. So have a blanket in your kit. Okay. A couple of things I have out here. Change of clothes is good to have. This
Definitely
is just
important.
a t-shirt, but you may want to have a jacket, a rain jacket,
or underwear.
Right. Things like that. Have a change. A multi-purpose tool. Very important. You never know what you're going to need a tool for, so you need that. Okay. A flashlight.
Definitely.
A lot of people don't think about toilet paper, but this might come in handy. You never know. So, throw some personal hygiene type items in your kit as well.
And I noticed that you have some glow sticks,
right?
Which is very important, and because they last a good little while, especially if for some reason you don't have a flashlight, or you need to
to signal
mark
someone.
A location that where somebody can find you. Glow sticks are very important to have also.
Right. Bandanas come in handy. Lots of uses for those. Some gloves to protect your hands, depending on what you're doing. Maybe some batteries. let's see, water. You need to have a gallon of water per person per day, and then you really should have enough for 3 days.
Okay.
And that's something you could have at home, but in your kind of kit that you take with you, you know, may just need to have a few bottles, but have some water. And then also, I showed you one flashlight. This is another flashlight, a sample, that you hand crank, but it also has a radio. So that way you can keep it powered and you can tune in to, you know, get updates in your community, find out what help is available, if there's any other, if it's severe weather, you know, what's coming through, just get those watches and warnings. So that's very important. And this one actually has a siren on it. So you could use that maybe to alert someone that, you know, you're there. If that were the situation. Got some food, just some snacks, and a first aid kit would also be handy to have included, some Band-Aids. Be sure that if you take medicine that you have maybe copies of your prescription, and then you have some extra medication with you, because you don't know when you're going to be able to get back home and get that medicine, so that's very important. And like I said, this is just a sample of a few things that you can include. You may also want to have a whistle in case you're somewhere that you also need to alert people, you know, hey, I'm here, and you're blowing the whistle and they couldn't hear you otherwise. So you can, we mentioned some resources that are available. Go to our redcross.org website and you can find out all sorts of things that you need to include and need to think about in your kit. You can call us at our office and we'll be glad to come out and share this with you and share other information. And our phone number is 706-884-5818. So you know, give us a call or go to the website, and we'll be glad to, like I said, bring this out and go through different things that you need to think about that should be included in your kit.
Right, and this is probably something that needs to be done quite a bit during the summer month, is being able to share this information with the community so that they'll know that these resources are out there, or if they don't understand how to put their kit together, we can give them some ideas. You know, and everybody's kit's not going to be the same, but you need to at least have some of the basic necessities.
Some of the basics.
And then you can go from there. You can make your kit as elaborate as you would like. That's
right.
But as long as it's something that is, you know, fairly easy for you to carry and it's mobile.
Right.
So, well, thank you for bringing your kit and sharing this information. Now, and we talked about contacts. There's another resource that we have here in our community, and that is through our local Troup County 911.
Right.
We have the code RED emergency alert system, where you can actually call 911 and they can set you up on that system where you can receive information on your cell phone or on your landline for emergency information or missing persons information. So that's another resource that is also available to our community. So if you would like to get on the code RED system, emergency alert system, you can contact our Troup County 911 at 706-883-1700. And they'll be more than happy to assist our community on getting on that system so that they can stay up to date on what's going on in our community. Now, we've talked about emergency preparedness, getting a plan, getting a kit, be prepared. We talked about some resources, the apps. Now let's talk about some of the disasters that can affect not only the Troup County area, but the area that your local chapter serves. And let's talk about one in particular, thunderstorms, or severe weather. Let's talk about thunderstorms and tornadoes.
Okay.
Thunderstorms, you know, thunderstorms is probably one of the biggest proponents of severe weather. So thunderstorms create all sorts of types of disasters. Right. Not only tornadoes, but you have flooding, you have hailstorms and things of that nature. Lightning strikes. So let's kind of talk about those two real quick since we're in that season.
Okay.
Tornadoes. We just recently had a tornado incident here in our county. And one of the things that a lot of people don't think about is we look at the weather, and sometimes your best indicator of what is going on is to look outside because it may not show up on the radar. So let's talk about the incident we had here recently and how the your branch was able to go out and assist and do a damage assessment.
Well, right. Last week when the weather was so severe and we did have a tornado that touched down in Troup County, we were very fortunate that there were only a few homes affected, and we did send our disaster assessment team out, and they met with families, they provided snacks and water. And like I said, we were very fortunate. I think there were a few homes affected with minor damage, so we didn't have to do a shelter or respond in another way that we've had to in the past, here in particular. But we did the next day with the weather that continued and the rain. We had, I think, 8 homes, not just in Troup County. I think we had 5 in Troup County, but 8 in our total chapter area that we needed to go out to because they had trees that had fallen or roofs that had fallen in. So because of the weather and the rain, that caused a disaster for those families, and we were able to assist them. Right.
And one thing that we didn't talk about is high winds. And high winds is becoming a bigger factor when it comes to severe weather now. So that is something else that we got to be mindful of. It may not be a thunderstorm and it may not be a tornado, but you know, we typically have some high winds that come through here once in a while with gusts up to 30 miles an hour. That, you know, is detrimental to trees. So we got to keep those in consideration. And what are some other severe weather scenarios that could happen here in our area?
Well, we don't have effects of a hurricane very often, but we have had that happen before, so that's something else that could affect us. You know, definitely the tornadoes that we just talked about, and in a tornado, know the safest place in your home so that when there is a warning or a watch, that you're ready to get to that spot, whether it's an interior room with no windows or the basement, be ready to get there. You know, we could have flooding. We'd have the lake, we have rivers, so that's another disaster that could easily happen in this area as well.
Which flooding is statistically the #1 cause of deaths when it comes to severe weather, is flooding. And that is, and you know, it makes sense because people get, you know, out in waters not knowing how deep it is, the terrain has been washed out and things of that nature. So you got to be very careful when flooding and raining is taking place. And then one other thing that we got to think about is extreme heat. We're already experiencing, you know, very warm temperatures in the month of May. And you know, and we don't know how hot it's going to get this summer, but you know, that is another precaution that people need to take in consideration in preparing for extreme heat emergencies. So those are just some of the things that our viewers need to be aware of, or the types of emergencies that we can have here in our Troup County and surrounding county area. Now let's talk about other disasters such as fires. And that's of course something that, you know, we are very familiar with. So kind of talk about that in general and any programs that you all have in regards to fires.
Actually, in disasters that we respond to, a home fire is the most common disaster that we are called to help with, because that happens all the time. And yeah, definitely as the fire department, you know, you're there on the scene responding. So when a fire happens and a family is affected, in partnership with the fire department and our local 911, we're called to come out to the scene and to see how we can assist the families. Then we also work with our partners in the community. And one of the wonderful programs that we have is called After the Fire. So in partnership with the fire department, with our local United Way, with some other community agencies, we're able to make a lot of resources available to the family who's been affected. And it kind of helps them know who to go to first. You know, we're there meeting with them, and we can provide that immediate assistance that we do, and then what can they do next, and where can they go to for some additional help and assistance. And so that's a great program that we do have in this community.
So a lot of great resources, and home fires, like you said, is one of those things that it is a tragedy to those that are involved. But you know, the thing about it is the lives we save is more important than the property that is lost. So you know, keep that in mind when you talk about home fires and preventing fires in the home, which cooking is the #1 leading cause of home fires. So
that is right.
Be mindful of the preventive things that you need to do to protect your families in that regard. Now, as we wrap up the show, what are some other things that the community members can do?
Well, they can be prepared, like we've been talking about. So it's great to have the resources, but you need to take action on those resources. So get your kit together, get your plan together. Give blood. Blood is always, there's a constant need for blood. So give blood as a way to help the community be prepared for a disaster. You can support Red Cross and agencies that respond financially with your resources. You can also volunteer. We are really a volunteer organization, and we cannot provide our services without our wonderful volunteers. And we'd love to have more volunteers. Just call our office and we'll be glad to get you started. And we provide the training that's necessary. We don't send you out to respond without training, so that you feel comfortable in knowing what to do. So those are great ways to be prepared, and share the message. You know, tell your family and friends what you've learned, and help them be prepared as well. All right,
sounds good. Well, we thank you, Connie, again for being on the show and providing all this wonderful information about emergency preparedness, which is something that is very, very important for our community and across the state. And it's something that everyone needs to start being more proactive in thinking about emergency preparedness, and because they just never know when they're going to find themselves in a situation where they're going to have to be ready. All right, and we'd like to thank each and every one of you for watching another segment of Smoke Signals. And remember, emergency preparedness: get a plan, have a kit, and be prepared, because the life you save may be your very own. Until next time, take care.